taste when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today on my 45th birthday. Okay, my 45th birthday, in which it's going to be today. It's going to be Will and Friends. All right, and many of the gentlemen that you are looking at right now is going to have need no introductions here at 305 Sports Now. Starting first with the OG of sports guests, that would be Coach Manny Matsakis. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic. Well, first off, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's always a privilege
to be back on the podcast, especially on your big day. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, and it's good to have you on because your Ohio Valley Ironmen were so good that teams just quit and didn't want to play you anymore. First 3 games, a combined score of 166-0.
It's crazy, man. It's like we're putting together a pro football team up here where I live, and it's been fun. And now we're actually in the middle. We're going to actually start a new league with some other teams to play just around the level of the UFL. That's what this would be.
Awesome. All right, and of course, down at the bottom of the square here is Mr. Plugged In, Mr. Recruiting Aficionado, Flo. Man, Flo, how's it going, sir? Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Going great, as I told you earlier. Happy birthday, and excited to be on with you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right. Oh, that we got another one popping in here. Oh, I'm gonna introduce this guy a little bit later on because this is just for Alex Donno. All right. So yes. So of course, and to the right side of me over here, this man he's no introduction. He has been the face and also the voice of South Florida sports for a very, very, very long time. He's also considered to be the voice of Miami Hurricanes football. The host of Locked On Canes and Locked On ACC, Mr. Alex Donno. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Will. Thank you for having me, and happy birthday, man. That's I'm glad we get to celebrate with you, and it's great meeting Manny today for the first time, and of course, Flo. Great seeing you again. So it's awesome being here with everybody.
All right, and my last guest who just popped in. All right, he's doing me a very good solid because he is working today as a firefighter, and this is Alex Donno's favorite podcast name, my boy Q from the I Hate Football podcast. How you doing, Q?
What's up, bro? How are you? Good to see you, man. Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, Q and I go back 30 years. 30 years. We've known each other for a very, very, very long time. We were very young in our teenage years, and we're still friends as time has progressed. If you guys are like, what are you guys talking about Alex Donno? Q asked Donno a question about 2 months ago on his podcast, Locked On Canes, and Alex couldn't get over the name of the podcast. And that same day, he happened to be on my show because we were doing some coverage of spring football, and Q explained to Alex where the name exactly comes from. And another good friend of mine who's popping in just as a guest here on commentary is Adrian Rainey of the Rainy Day Podcast. Adrian, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, sir. Alex, I do want to start with you first. Because you cover the Canes very, very thoroughly. A little bit about Carson Beck, and I do have to say this. Nothing is worse than a scorned ex-girlfriend, because the way Hannah Cavender made Carson Beck sound was that he was on mute with a phone everywhere he went. But I saw your interview with him, and I even saw him, of course, on X as well when he was in ACC Media Day. I have to admit, I was very impressed with the way he handled himself. I was very impressed with the way he answered questions. And to tell you the truth, I saw a leader within the locker room, just the way he presented himself. What was your impression in speaking with Carson on Media Day, and did you get the same feelings I got with Carson Beck?
I did, and that was my first time meeting him. Yeah, I did see him again today at Canes Media Day, but at the ACC Media Day, first time ever talking to him. And yeah, I think Hannah Cavender wasn't the only scorned ex, because the way that Georgia people talk about him, it's like, and it's interesting because y'all weren't saying any of that stuff when he was there. So you're either lying now or you were lying then. There's just a lot of sour grapes coming out of there. So, I didn't know what to expect from Carson, but yeah, listen, I had the same impressions that you did. He comes off very mature. His experience is obvious. He started 27 games at Georgia. He won 24 of those. He's been in some massive games during his time. It sounds to me like he's got a passion for football, and also talking to teammates of his. I've talked to several now over the past week or so, and they all have really nice things to say about him. And it seems legitimate. Like, it doesn't just seem like they're saying it to say it. Like, they really seem to respect his work ethic and his leadership. I'm going to air a conversation I had today with Mark Fletcher later today on Locked On Canes, and Fletch was glowing when he was talking about Carson Beck. So yeah, I didn't feel any negative vibes on him whatsoever, and I just think unfortunately sometimes when you leave a program and people are kind of wondering like, oh, why would you leave Georgia for Miami? Viewing Miami, a lot of folks nationally as an inferior program to UGA. It gets people talking, gets people making assumptions. But I will add, Carson, he spent I guess 5 years at UGA. He's like the only guy who never got a speeding ticket or got a reckless driving charge or anything. Despite he's driving Lamborghinis, but he's driving the speed limit. That to me tells you something. He's responsible. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll get into. I want to bring in Flo and Manny in reference to Carson Beck in a minute, but I want to piggyback a little bit of what Alex said. Q, you're actually in Atlanta and you're in the Georgia area. So I know we've talked about this before, but can you reiterate what is the exact feeling about Carson Beck at the moment, or even before he even left Georgia? What was the fan base kind of tinkering with?
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. Again, hey, and real quick, man, before we continue, Donno, my man, love the content, man. Love the material.
Thank you.
Big fan, man. Love hearing you every day on Locked On Canes, man. Like I said, big fan. Flo, my man, what's going on? Manny, never met you, my man, but good to meet you. Listen, man, what's funny is I'm sitting about 2 minutes from Grayson High School, which is where Tyler Atkinson goes to school, just to kind of give you context on where I'm at in Georgia. And, I say that to say surrounded by nothing but Georgia fans up here, right? You see, you get some Bama fans, some Auburn fans, and that kind of thing, and Tech and that kind of thing. But by and large, this is definitely a red state, right? When you talk about University of Georgia, and it's really interesting to hear, what people say about them, and just like Donald mentioned, right? Just the difference in tune from, when Carson Beck was there to now that he's gone, and the amount of vitriol that kind of comes his way, the hate that comes his way from the way everything ended at Georgia, really interesting. I definitely think it's misplaced, very ex-girlfriend-ish. I think one of those deals where they loved him while he was there. Now now that he's gone, he's kind of an easy target, right? I think a lot of people, again, very misplaced. A lot of people lose sight of the fact that, that offense really was not a good offense, even though, they won the SEC and that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of the fact that, again, it just wasn't a good offense. When you look at the numbers, it wasn't a typical Georgia offense, right? You have 3 offensive linemen taken in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft, and you still can't run the ball. When, you recruit the running back position the way Georgia does, you just expect different, right? When you recruit the O-line position the way Georgia does, you expect different. And so, just not customary when it comes to their recent success. And then add to that the fact that you have a guy like Gunnar Stockton, who, was a highly recruited kid, but, he was sitting behind Carson Beck for a reason, right? And so, now all of a sudden, Gunnar Stockton is this, big time upgrade over Carson Beck. I personally don't see it, but yeah, very, very ex-girlfriend, very sour grape, type of vibe coming from the Georgia fan base. And I think when the season gets started, I think they're going to see how wrong they were in this particular assessment. So, again, I wouldn't say it's everybody, but the majority of fans definitely are claiming that they're happy that Carson Beck is gone. I think they're going to live to regret that decision, though.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Q, on that note. Coach Matsakis, since you worked under with Mike Leach, actually worked with Mike Leach, and Mike Leach is the innovator with Hal Mummy of the air raid offense. Carson Beck has one heck of an arm and likes to go vertical. How do you think that Carson will fit in Shannon Dawson's system?
Well, I mean, knowing Shannon, and then obviously, I don't know if you knew this, but the running back coach Matt Merritt actually went to college where I went to college up here in Ohio. So it was pretty cool seeing that he got on the staff there. And then previous to that, Eric Hickson, who I coached in college at Kansas State. So, I think all in all, the tools are there for him. When I talk to pro scouts, Will, and that's, I mean, these guys evaluate at an extremely high level. And one thing about Carson Beck is that he's known for elite processing speed, calm pocket presence. His mechanics are pro ready. And no matter what you say about what happened at Georgia, it wasn't because of him, just the eliteness of the offense. I think Shannon will know how to take advantage of that. I think you're looking at really a great opportunity right now, a puncher's chance to win the ACC title. And I think Beck is probably a dark horse Heisman candidate, likely first rounder in 2026.
That's what we want, man. That's what we want to hear. Flo, what's your take on Carson Beck and your outlook on how you think he'll perform this season?
Oh, first of all, I'm glad that Manny said that what the football people say, right? It is a big difference on when we talk to fans or look on the message boards or just talk to maybe some people that are in recruiting that are not really at the same level as far as experience on evaluating people, right? At the end of the day, what do we really care about? And I mean that respectfully. Can he play football? I mean, can he play football? I would say his record speaks for itself. I would say his competition speaks for itself. And, the football people are all saying, I mean, I echo what Manny said, the guy's IQ is through the roof. I mean, it's insane. It's kind of like, everybody else is on DOS and he the old processing system when we used to go on AOL. And he's just like, he's got that really good Wi-Fi, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the football, right? It's not about social media, his ex-girl, what the fans are saying. It's about what does this guy's tape look like? And when you take his body of work, I think it speaks for itself. I mean, he's played everybody. He's played everybody against everybody. He's seen every defense you could probably throw at him in college football. He's responded well. His bad year is a good year in most places, at the end of the day. I do think Shannon Dawson's offense actually fits him better, in my opinion, because I actually like the personnel packages that he uses. I think it's going to give him easier pre-snap reads on how to move stuff around when a guy can operate his brain the way he operates it. And look, Cam Ward is a one of a kind, but if you can upgrade in any area from a Carson Beck, I think it's the pre-snap stuff. I really do. You watch what he does when you break down the film. The guy is just ahead. He's just ahead of a lot of people. I'm very, very excited as far as that goes with him. And I only care about the football stuff with him.
Yeah. I totally agree with every take that everyone's having here. And I like all your different perspectives, all right, as well. But before we move on into the season and our seasonal outlook and so on, we have to have a word from our sponsors, Fan Outfitters. Ooh, Miami. I am proud to announce that Fan Outfitters is the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. With locations in Pembroke Pines, Davie, and Kendall, you can find the latest gear and accessories for all your favorite South Florida teams. Teams like your Miami Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Inter Miami, Miami Marlins, and many, many more. So if you ever find yourself in the Pembroke Pines area, Davie, or Kendall, please stop by Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. There you have it, everybody. If you're looking for some fresh new gear from your Canes, Dolphins, Heat, Panthers, etc., go to Fan Outfitters with locations in Kendall, Davie, and Pembroke Pines. All right, so now let's take a quick look at the season. I know people have had their conversations about it as well, but I have to go to Donno first. Donno, you had a fantastic interview with recently with Crane and Company recently. And I will say this, much of the national guys have no idea about how Miami actually operates. They know it from a surface level, with a few exceptions, of course, like Josh Pate and JD Piquel. But these guys were very detailed about Miami, and you were, at least to me, and you were able to express why they should buy Miami this season. From what you said and your observations and covering the team, how do you see the season, at least on paper, how it's going to come about, and what improvements do you think that the team's made this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I've got them in the 10-win range. I think they could get to 11. You know, obviously undefeated is just tough. They've got to prove to me they can, close out every game before I get there. But big thing on, why I would buy stock in Miami, a few different reasons. Improvement from the biggest weakness of last year. The defense, it cost them games, and there were other games the defense tried to cost them games, and Cam Ward was the ultimate Band-Aid. And they have tried to upgrade the D in every way possible. I mean, a new defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman, you don't have to think as much in his system. The guys really seem to like it. A little bit more instinctive and reactive and aggressive in that sense. I think he's also doing a good job coaching the linebackers. 2 new defensive back coaches, 1 new defensive line coach. I spoke with Damian Lewis today. That dude is like the embodiment of an old school Kane. Like he's got that attitude. He's got that charisma. He was actually here during the climb back to greatness, right? Yeah. Damian Lewis was here from 96 to 2000. So he helped set the table for Miami to become a national championship team again. And he wants nothing more than to bring this team back. So I think coaching upgrades are notable, but personnel to me on the defensive side, with all the new defensive backs that Miami brought in from, Xavier Lucas, Zechariah Poyser, Jacoby Thomas, Keontae Scott. You've got OJ Frederic coming back, and Damari Brown hopefully back healthy because he was looking good before he got injured last year. He added new linebackers like Kamal Bonner and Mohamed Toure. Like Toure especially, I think, is going to tear it up this year. You've got defensive ends coming out of the woodwork, including like a healthy Ruben Bain. Again, he's really motivated. Defensive tackle, I think Miami's a little bit thinner there, like from a depth standpoint, but Justin Scott, Armando Blunt, David Blay seem to be a really solid top 3. So I don't think the defense is going to be a liability the way that it was last year, which is, I think automatically, I think this team is deeper than it was last season. And then offensively, I think we all set our piece on Carson Beck. But a big thing I want to focus on is, I think Miami, on both lines of scrimmage, certainly including the offense, they're going to be able to bully most of the teams that they face, go toe-to-toe, even with Notre Dame, that's going to have great lines of scrimmage as well. Should have one of the better offensive lines in the country. And something, guys, I'm working on my next episode of Locked On Canes that I'm putting out today. So what I was talking today with Miami's top 3 running backs, right? At least who I think is going to be the top 3. Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, and Shamar Brown, who just transferred in from North Dakota State. The 3 of these guys are, Fletcher is 225 pounds. Shamar Brown tells me he's 220. Jordan Lyle tells me he's up to 205. So you got 3 battering rams. So you want to talk about punishing defenses, wearing down defenses, and Gerard Pringle is already pushing 200 pounds. Chris Wheatley-Humphrey is like your slightly smaller, shifty or change of pace guy. I think Miami, with the Mario philosophy, is going to be able to run the football effectively, and with the big backs that they have, are going to make these defenders start to make business decisions late in games. And I think there's a lot of talent at receiver and tight end. Like, you got to see these guys show that they can all do it together. In Miami, some new faces like JoJo Trader's got to take a step up. CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, Tony Johnson transferring in. A bunch of other young receivers who should get opportunities. But I just think this team, like top to bottom, I think the roster is better. And I don't think there's no excuses not for this team to be an ACC championship contender this year.
Alex, before I quickly go to Coach Matsakis, you mentioned the defensive tackle position, which is probably the one with the least amount of depth. How disastrous would an injury be for this football team this year if one of those guys goes down?
I mean, it's never good. I will tell you, the talk with Damian Lewis today, it sounds like, I read between the lines because he's trying not to pump up any individual players too much. He's trying to like keep it about the team, but I can't help but think it sounds to me like Dante Simpson is like ready to contribute as a true freshman. So like that might be the next guy up. Like I really felt like Damian Lewis could like hardly contain himself when talking about Dante Simpson. It seems like Artavius Jones is coming along, but maybe still has some work to do because he wasn't as polished coming out of high school. But you would need, like, if God forbid one of your top three gets injured, like you need one of those guys. I think the next two guys up, Dante Simpson and Artavius Jones, like you've got to get these guys ready. You got to coach them up and hope that they develop really quickly.
Thank you, Alex. Coach Matsakis, as a guy who loves offense, especially since your team's won 166-0 and for Ohio Valley. Is there anything different you like to see from Miami this year offensively or defense? Well, defensively, everybody wants to see something different, but at least offensively, is there anything different you like to see from Miami this year offensively that we didn't see last year due to the fact that you have two different quarterbacks?
Well, I think when we look at the quarterback situation, you're talking about, I'm thinking back over the years at Miami. I mean, I would look at, like, here's one scout told me, say Carson Beck could be the best pure passer that Miami's had since Ken Dorsey. So you're talking pro style passer. If he clicks early, the Canes are going to be a legitimate college football playoff threat. That's what it's going to take. And sort of alluding to what Alex was saying there, when I think about the personnel situation offensively, there are still definitely questions remaining at the receiver position because of the roster turnover. And if Beck can establish chemistry quickly, look out. I also see that, same thing with Alex about those running backs. They've got to be able right now, because they've got a good stable, to run the ball efficiently, effectively early in the year to take some heat off those receivers. When they get clicking, I'm telling you, it's lights out. I could see a national title, but a lot of it's going to happen as the season progresses. And of course, to win it all, like the Buckeyes did, you got to avoid injuries, and that's, what's going on there, because it's tough.
The Buckeyes are an evil name on this podcast, Coach Matsakis. Just want to let you know.
I am in Ohio, okay? So.
I'm just kidding. I know. Q, what's your take on the season?
Brother, I guess we'll start with the offense, and I'm looking at it three different ways, right? You start with obviously the most important position, on the offense. You start with the quarterback, and I think we've dissected Carson Beck and what he is and what ability he has, and I think you're set right there at that position. Next, you look at what's in front of him, right, with one of the best offensive lines in the country, right, first and foremost. And then you add to that where, you're going to have a Shannon Dawson and running an offense that's got, proof of concept at this point, right? You're looking at, what it is they've done with not only Cam Ward, but also, let's not forget that while Tyler Van Dyke was there as a quarterback, I mean, they were putting up good numbers right now, TBD's performance aside and everything that was going on there. But I think, again, you have proof of concept. There's an offense in the guys you're replacing on offense in terms of, the receivers, for example. I think, in my opinion, every guy you're replacing, I think you're going to replace with a guy who's more talented, right? What you don't have is a benefit of experience. That's a different story. But in my opinion, I think who you're replacing, and again, no disrespect to anybody, right? No disrespect to Jacoby George, so on and so forth. But I think the guys coming up behind them, I think, are going to be guys who are more talented. They just don't have that experience, right? And then, again, you're going to surround them with a stable of running backs who we know are going to be really good. I think the tight end position, even after losing a guy like Elijah Arroyo, I think you have a room there that's full of talent. Obviously lacks experience, right? But it's definitely a talented room. Again, the receiver position I think is deep. I think it's talented. I think you're missing some proven experience with the underclassmen, but I think you have enough to carry you through, the early part of the season while JoJo and these guys kind of, get going. And then on the defensive side of the ball, listen, I can't fathom a defense this year that's going to be remotely as bad as they were last year, right? With Heatherman, at the helm. I think with Damian Lewis, coaching these guys, the D tackles, Hopefully, Jason Taylor is gonna transition from being a really good recruiter to being a really good developer of talent. I think they look really good at linebacker with the additions. You know, the DBs kind of across the board. I think they're really talented. They're deep now. So, you know, listen, when you look at the teams that were in it last year, you know, they've shown the blueprint, right? You have to be really good on the line of scrimmage, right? Those guys weren't elite quarterbacks that made the Final Four last year, right? Cam Ward was a better quarterback than any one of those guys that made it last year. In my opinion, Carson Beck is a better quarterback now than any of the quarterbacks that made it to the Final Four last year. I think those guys won with line of scrimmage play and really good defense. And I think if they follow that blueprint now with what Miami has, listen, I think they've got more than enough to win the ACC and make a deep run in the playoffs.
Thank you, Q. Flo, what's your take?
Well, somebody pinched me that you guys just threw this alley oop to me because I'm a little. Maybe I miss it. Maybe I missed it, and when you guys said it, but I know Donno, he's close to the team, and off the record, the one name that every single coach brings up is Elijah Lofton. They think he is a mismatch nightmare. And in today's college football, when you run into a team that happens to have the same kind of line of scrimmage, you know, or the same kind of personnel, it usually comes down to that X factor guy. I don't know if we have an X factor guy on the team other than Elijah Lofton. I mean, where do you line him up, right? Talk about what are you going to do? Who are you going to sub out on defense if you put him in the backfield, if you open him up to the outside? What package are you going to run? I think it gives him unbelievable flexibility, and it's the name I hear the most in the building when it comes to offense. I mean, you can't talk off the record to one person in there that doesn't say, dude, Elijah Lofton, that guy right there. He's just different. He's just different. But you're right. He is young. He hasn't really done it at a consistent basis. Anytime you touch the ball, you kind of see what he's doing. But I'm excited only because I like when I hear it from the football people. I keep saying that because to me, that's the only stuff that I really listen to. We all love size and speed and look how big he is, look how fast he runs, and look how pretty he looks. But then you talk to the peers, right? When you talk to some of the defensive guys and you're like, hey, dude, who's really putting it on you guys in the spring? Or who's looking good? And then, bro, Elijah's different. That guy's different. It's kind of like the same thing the offensive guys say about Bain right now. Bain is pissed. And I'll say it. Donald said it in a nice way. He said he's motivated. Bain is pissed off, and he's ready to play some ball. If he stays healthy, I'm expecting a monster year from him. But overall, you guys touched on everything. The one thing I'll add is I think Corey Hartherman brings stability, and we didn't have that last year. I mean, if we can keep those linebackers clean, I think we'll be fine. And his system is based on pretty much not too much dancing and twisting and doing all those cartwheels that we were doing on the defensive line last year. They're sound defense, gap integrity, all that stuff. Get up the field. If we can keep our linebackers clean, I think we're going to do really well this year. I'm more with Donno. I have us around 10 wins, depending on how good the coaching is. I'll give us another win, maybe. I need to see us coach really well against the really good teams, and against the teams that aren't that good, I need to see us coach well. We shouldn't be in a dogfight with Syracuse this year. I'll just put that out there.
Thank you, Flo. I agree with you 100%. Alex, I know you got to go in about a minute or so, but I want to get your perspective on this. I'm excited about the quarterback room post Carson Beck because I really like Luke Nickel and I really like Darion Coleman as well. As of right now, from what I understand, Emory Williams is QB2. As fall ball starts, is there a chance, or do you think there's a chance that Luke Nickel, who I think has the higher ceiling, will take that QB2 spot from Emory?
I don't know. I have a hard time seeing that only because, if I think about what being a backup quarterback is all about, I think Emory having the advantage of the experience, heading into his third year now in Shannon Dawson's offense and having some starts under his belt. And listen, I get it. Like the Pop-Tarts Bowl second half was really ugly. I don't think that is really who he is. Like I wouldn't judge him by his worst day. I also don't think, he's necessarily like a starting caliber quarterback at the University of Miami. But to me, if I think about what you want out of a backup quarterback, you want stability, you want someone who can manage your offense, who knows how to do that. And I feel like Emory brings more of that. We'd probably all agree that Luke Nickel has a higher ceiling, and I think he started to show that at the end of spring ball. I mean, he really started to make some exciting plays. He's not afraid to make mistakes, which I think is a good thing because you get those kind of out of the way early on. But at the same time, like if you talk about a true freshman, winning the backup job, there's more volatility is the way that I look at it. I think the ceiling is higher, but the floor is lower. And so that's why, I just feel until proven otherwise that Emory Williams is probably your backup quarterback. And I do think he's better than what he showed in that Pop-Tarts Bowl game, admitting that was not good football at all. But I think he's better than that.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for taking. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to run. You're doing some Canes media, some ACC media as well. When is your next episode of Locked On Canes and Locked On ACC coming out?
Yeah, thank you. I'm working on my next episode of Locked On Canes. Is probably going to be coming around 4:30 today or 5 o'clock. I was at media day today. It's like speed dating. Like you get to all the players are sat down at these tables and you get to talk to a bunch of different players. I wish I had time to talk to everybody, but I spoke with Ruben Bain, Mark Fletcher, Shamar Brown, Jordan Lyle, Markel Bell, Inez Cooper, a bunch of, but I mean, I could go on and on. I was very fortunate to talk to all these guys. So I'm going to be putting out some of those interviews today around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then probably around 7 o'clock, we'll have a new Locked On ACC episode because our entire Locked On network, I don't know how many college hosts there are, like 50 of us. We maybe more than that. We voted on our like top 100 players. And so we're going to be revealing some of those top 100. Carson Beck did make the top 100. We'll tell you how high. CC Maui Noah made the top 100. Ruben Bain did. And I think Mark Fletcher did as well, made top 100 college football players. So we'll talk more about that today around 7 p.m. on Locked On ACC.
Alex, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. And guys, please check it out. If you haven't subscribed yet to Locked On Canes, please do so. And Locked On Canes on YouTube, also Spotify. Give them a follow as well, and other podcasting platforms. Alex, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for coming on my birthday as well. Really appreciate it. Always fun to have you on. Have a good one, sir.
Happy birthday, and thank you so much for having me. And shout out to Q. I love the name of your podcast, even though you hate football. To Flo, who just does such great work, and to Coach Manny. It's great meeting you for the first time. Hopefully, we talk again soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Take care, buddy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Alex Donno. Right, that was Alex Donno of Locked On Canes, Locked On ACC, and occasionally WQAM as well. Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it. Okay, it's kind of surreal because I was a fan of his for a long time on radio when he was on 560 QAM. All his takes and his shows. I was upset when they removed him, and then to have him on my show, he's never said no to me. It's kind of like a surreal experience. So I'm really grateful for the podcasting one and how it's brought us all together. So it's a pretty cool thing.
He's the nicest guy.
He is.
Period. Like the nicest guy. Period.
Yeah. I remember.
I've never seen that guy say a bad word about anybody.
Never.
Even
so
those fan
nice,
bases
bro.
that talk trash and
Yep.
who throw stuff his way, he just kind of deflects and
Yeah.
he'll make a joke about it, but never ever once has that guy been mean to anybody in the time that I've been following him. So
Dude,
really,
he's
No,
like
never.
that when you meet him too. He's like the night. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
you guys talk to other media, right? And when you get a chance to meet him, they're like, oh, whoa, Donno's like the nicest guy in the world.
yeah, it seems
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, he is. I remember because I had Alejandro Solana on the show. Alejandro Solana, is Hawk with Crowd and Solana now. And this is when I first had him, and he said, "Dude, invite him. He'll come on. Believe me, he'll come on." And I invited him on, and he said yes automatically. So I was very happy as well. Just like Coach Matsakis, I was looking for people to talk to. Coach is like, "I could be on your show," and he said he could explain to me who it was. I'm very grateful to all of you, for coming on. As well, and coming on as well. So I'm very appreciative. Coach, I do want to ask a question. We're going to shift over to the Miami Dolphins as well. Tua is going to be the topic of conversation. The Dolphins had a not so good season last year. A lot of people in the hot seat. A lot of people thought that the hot seat should have been set in a furnace in the inferno altogether. Everybody all together as well. Tua Tagovailoa, and I do like Tua personally. I think he's a hard worker. I think he's a smart quarterback. I think he's a good leader. He has a 4-year, $212 million contract with the Dolphins. I forgot how much is actually guaranteed on that one, but there's a history of injury. So I'm gonna ask you first, and then of course and then you explain why, and then I'll ask the rest of the group as well. Do you think Tua finishes the season out, or at least, or forgive me, let me reframe the question. Do you think Tua plays every single game this season?
Well, I mean, that's what everyone's in the NFL. When I talk to the guys, and I spent a lot of time with NFL coaches nowadays and scouts, and there are definitely questions about his durability. We don't know that yet, but the issue I think with him is he's playing under that fifth-year option. Right? Okay. I mean, he's in a situation right now. The market for top-tier quarterbacks, it's red hot. If he proves himself, it's going to be tremendous. Now they might franchise tag him or pivot or draft a prospect if he disappoints this season. I do believe that with Mike McDaniel's time-based RPO heavy system, he's perfectly suited for it. So they got the right guy. His weapons are fantastic. When you look at Tyreek and Waddle and these other guys that they've been bringing in to give him basically an insurance policy around him, he's going to thrive if he's got rhythm, and he's going to struggle under duress. That's his deal. Always has been. It's different in college when you're sitting at Alabama and you got better players than everybody. Mm-hmm. The NFL has tremendous parity. The AFC is stacked. The East is stacked right now. Yep. I mean, we're talking about a very tough division. They are a playoff caliber team, but expectations right now are division title or bust. And he needs to prove himself. I don't know if he makes it through or not, but he certainly has the motivation. I think in his career right now, Will, he's like where he's in the Dak Prescott phase. Right? He's like, is he good enough to win the big ones or not? The jury's out. This is a big year for him because, Dolphins could be looking somewhere else if it doesn't pop.
Okay. Flo, what's your take?
Oh man, I want to be nice. Full disclosure, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. Sadly, right now, but listen, if you keep him clean, he's accurate. He gets the ball out quick, like as good as anybody in the league. Like Manny said, if you make him go to the second or third read, it gets a little weird with him. Very very quickly. I you just go by body of work. I'm a pretty easy, boring guy. My criteria is very simple. What has he done? He gets beat up, he gets hurt, he can't finish. If you take away his first read, it looks like he panics a little bit, right? Sometimes he looks elite though. Like if he knows where he's going with the ball and it's there, I mean, he puts up video game numbers sometimes. And like he said, he's got some weapons that are kind of like a video game around him. I wish they would have put a better offensive line around him before they decided to extend him. I thought that was weird that you extend a guy that can't finish a season, but you didn't put money into the O-line. That didn't make any sense to me. I'm not a GM, but I played a little football. I love football. Common sense tells me spend money on the offensive line before you spend money on the quarterback, but it's not kind of how it went. So all that being said, no, I do not think he finishes the season. I think he misses games, unfortunately. I hope he doesn't get hurt where it affects the quality of his life. But I've seen that same position that he got in more than once now, and that's kind of scary to watch that. We all played football. We know that it's part of the game, but it's a pretty weird feeling on TV to see that. The guy's got kids. He's married. He's got millions and millions of dollars. I don't know if he needs to take that risk, but go ahead and try to tell a football player that he can't play football. Good luck with that. Yeah, I don't think so. I unfortunately.
Okay. Q, what's your take, sir?
Bro, that's so before I answer the question, let everybody know I am not a Dolphins fan. I'm actually a Niners fan. Right. So, I am when it comes to this particular topic, I'm neutral in it. The way I look at it, right, outside looking in, is first and foremost, right, the team believes in him, right? They extended him last year. I mean, $167 million guaranteed, right? I think is what he got. So I think if you're the Dolphins, right, as an organization, could you really pivot away from Tua at this point? I mean, short of something like Wilkins from the Raiders here recently, right? I mean, I don't really know that you have the standing to pivot away from him, given what it is that you just guaranteed him in terms of money, right? I think he's a guy who's proven that when everything around him is perfect, I think the offense can put up numbers, right? They've proven it. They proved it a couple years ago. But unfortunately, everything has to be perfect around him, right? He's a guy who isn't durable, right? He's a guy who has to be surrounded, right? This guy's never not been surrounded by talent, right? At Alabama, one of the best supporting casts ever put together. Obviously, since he's been with the Dolphins, with the new regime, right? They surrounded him with a lot of talent, right? And again, when he's healthy and when all the talent around him is right, they're an offense that puts up good numbers. The problem with Tua is that, just like Flo said, right? They haven't surrounded him with a good offensive line, right? And for Tua to succeed, they have to run the ball, right? You can't have Tua drop back 40 times a game, right? If you're doing that, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? And so, how much do you believe in that offensive line now with Patrick Paul starting at left tackle, right? All along that offensive line, I think there's questions, right? There's questions literally at every position on that offensive line, right? So are you going to be able to run the ball? I don't know, right? And if you're not able to run the ball, is that making Tua have to leave the pocket more often, right? If that's happening, he's in harm's way, and we all know what happens when he's in harm's way. So, man, there's a lot of questions. I think, again, if he's healthy and everything's right around him, I think you can win with Tua. Now what happens in the playoffs, of course, is a different story. But again, a lot falls on that offensive line. A lot falls on Mike McDaniel this year as a play caller. But again, I think in the short term, I just don't know that I don't know how you get out from under that contract that he signed. I think if you're the Dolphins, you're stuck with Tua. You are stuck with Tua for the foreseeable future. You can't get out from under that money right now. So you have to build around him. You got to fortify that offensive line and hope that he's learned enough here recently that he's learned how to slide, he's learned how to get out of bounds, and he's not going to be taking hits to jeopardize himself and jeopardize the success of his team. But again, if he's healthy, I think they can be good, and he has to be, because they're not getting away from him anytime soon.
Yeah, one of the things about Tua, and I like to quote Joe Rose in this, is that he played for a weatherproof quarterback, and of course he meant Dan Marino, like guys like Josh Allen, Tom Brady. Those are weatherproof quarterbacks. You can put them in any element, and they're going to thrive. Indoors, outdoors, blizzard, it doesn't matter. Hurricane, it doesn't matter. And for Tua, and what we've seen in Tua's body of work, if everything's perfect around him, Tua excels. But the moment that the bullets start flying and things aren't perfect, whether it be a Ravens defense, or whether it be just it's 35 degrees outside, that's where we really see Tua really struggle, and that's where I think where he falls into issues. So the offensive line is going to have to play a very major role this year. The running game is going to have to be much better. They drafted Ollie Gordon for that reason. So when it's 3rd and 1, they don't have to pass. They can run it up the gut and get a first down or get those tough yards. So it's going to be a very pivotal year for Tua. I think also for Mike McDaniel and also Chris Greer as well, as everyone is on the hot seat. Now, Q, you kind of answered this question. There's a follow-up question before we sign off. But do you think? I know you said that I'm gonna start with you, Q, first. I know you said that there's no way the Miami Dolphins could get out of that money. In general, of course, Adrian, he likes what you said. Okay, Flo and Q, he likes what you said. Adrian from the Rainy Day podcast. But do you think Tua finishes the 4 years of his contract? Or do you think that or do you think that something happens that they just say, we'll cut our losses and we'll move on with somebody else?
Listen, man, if it was my money, I would say no, right? You have to look at his recent past, and I have to assume on my end, I think we've seen the best of Tua. I just don't know that we're going to see any better, and I think given that, I don't know that long term he's going to do the things that he needs to do in order to avoid injury. That's kind of the way I look at it. To me, I think at some point they end up having to cut bait. And if you're looking at some of the teams around the league who have done so, right, when they've taken huge cap hits, right, you look at Denver, that they did so with Russell Wilson. They were able to dig out from under that hole really quickly. So I don't think nowadays, I don't think taking that huge cap hit when you get rid of a quarterback, for example, is a death sentence, right? And I think there's the blueprint is out there, and I think before the end of this particular deal that Tua signed, I think somehow they find a way to to cut bait with them and go another direction. That would be my personal opinion.
Right, Flo.
Oh, I'm about to predict the future, so just hold on. Tua's gonna get hurt, not life threatening, and his family's gonna talk him out, and he's gonna retire. That's the best possible scenario that could happen, but it's probably not gonna happen. Yeah, I don't see it happening, unfortunately. Just like you said, the body of work shows me that he is. You touch him, he's down, right? And the sad part is, I would love to see Mike McDaniel with a solid prospect at quarterback. Like, I think I'm a big fan of his scheme. I don't know how he is as a head coach, but as far as a scheme on offense, I'm a big fan of his scheme. I would love to see him with a competent quarterback that can run a little bit, maybe a little bit bigger, can take some hits. I think it'd be interesting. I know I'm going off a little bit, but when we go out and get the guys we get to back up, Tua tells me that we don't want to win. It tells me we don't want to win. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep it simple and say it would shock me if Tua makes it to the end of the contract as a Miami Dolphin. Like, completely shock me.
Okay. Coach Matsakis?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think he can make it. No way. I mean, there's no way he makes it. We're talking 4 years right now. And even though all that stuff is guaranteed, it's not. I mean, these guys, because there's so many high level pro quarterbacks now, because the game has changed in college coming up. So they're going to take a shot on another guy that's healthy, doesn't have concussion issues, doesn't have all the other stuff. It's like, it's the same old. And I think it's going to be tough for him to make it, not just through this season, but you said 4 years. I don't think he can make it. And, I think Q made a really good point. I mean, look at the situation in Denver. What happened there, right? You can get out from underneath anything, because the level of quarterback play in college now is the best it has ever been. And these guys are a little older. Remember, they're not just playing 4 or 5 years. Some of them they're 6 years plus, because all those new rules. So they got experience, unlike normal rookies coming in. And I think they're going to cut bait. They're going to let him go. And, it'd have to be a miraculous. They would have to make a deep run in the playoffs for him to continue to be where he is.
Yeah, I agree with all three of you. I don't think Tua makes it to the fourth year of his contract. I think the Dolphins will find a way to cut their losses, especially if you're going to have an overhaul. If let's say the team tanks this year, if you do have an overhaul of coaching staff and GM, most GMs want to bring in their own head coach, and most head coaches want their quarterback. So I do think that's going to be the trend. Again, I like Tua. I wish him the best. Again, if he's successful, the team's successful, Miami. But at the point that we are right now with his injury history, plus the team is not well constructed, especially within the trenches, I just can't see Tua getting into year 4 of his contract and getting another extension. Gentlemen, we've reached the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me in my birthday special. Again, I have entered the realm of the mid 40s. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm officially 45 years old. But before we go, okay, you guys all have great shows and do great work in the sports digital media world. Starting first with Coach Matsakis, where can we find you? Where can we read your work, etc.?
Honestly, I would just go to OhioValleyIronman.com. That's our website. We're that next tier pro football team, so you can get a lot of news on us right there.
Okay. Lou, when's the next episode pumping out?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think tomorrow I'm on the College Football Express, and then after that I can't remember. I would lie to you. But thanks for having me on. Happy birthday. It was a pleasure chopping it up with Coach and Q, and you guys are awesome. And just thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you so much. And Q.
Myself and my boy Russ got a new episode coming out tomorrow. College Blitz. We'll be talking another contender and what may keep them from being a national title, being the national title picture. On my end, on the I Hate Football podcast, I haven't scheduled anything new because I've really just kind of been focusing on College Blitz. But we'll have something soon coming up now, especially with the season getting closer. We'll have a little bit more material, some more stuff to talk about. But and hopefully, man, get together with you soon here, and see what we can cook up, man. If Flo wants to get on, man, we, entertain that too, man. If he's free and wants to get down, then
I'm easy. I'm real easy.
that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear, bro. Otherwise, my man, hey, happy 45, man. Happy 45.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
Cheers
it.
to another trip around the sun, man.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy it today, man. Get into something good. Obviously, I'm working, so drink one for me or two for me if you want to.
I shall.
And we'll,
I shall.
And we'll line something up here soon, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Please subscribe to all their channels. Visit Ohio Valley Man as well. By the way, before I let you guys go, Coach Matsakis has, if you wanna plug your old show, I know it's still available on Spotify. You've had some really good interviews. So if you want people to go back into the archives, feel free to let everybody know. The Manny Matsakis Show.
Yeah, that's it. And it was like the number 7 ranked football podcast in the world at one point. I haven't done it for a while. Yeah, it was pretty neat. But people keep asking me, when are you going to do another one? I'm like, I'm in the middle of coaching, man. It's a little different world. But I've got some buddies that want to come on, and just fortunate to have some good coaches and just people in the industry.
Yeah, by the way, my favorite interview, Coach Art Biles. That was a really good one. Yeah. Okay. And the funniest interview was the carnivore diet. that one was a classic.
Yeah,
that was a classic. That was a classic. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like today's episode, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. And of course, like, share, subscribe to the I Hate Football Podcast. Take a look at Coach Manny Matsakis' website, and of course, the Miami Flow Network and College Football Blitz. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. I got some comments here. What the heck? Oh, there we go. Of course, Agent, always very supportive. All right, and thank you very much. Appreciate you very much. Thank you so much, Agent. Also, subscribe to Agent's podcast, the Rainy Day Podcast, as well. He covers everything from football to professional wrestling as well. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day, guys. God bless. See you soon. Go Canes and go Fins. Bye-bye.